Welcome back to Tech Nuggets. This is yet another brand new video on Docker series. Modern world applications developments have moved towards cloud and microservices. And nobody develops any more fat monolith applications. However, the major challenge with microservice is management of the service deployment as a whole unit. That is where Docker Compose helps to put all the services and dependent applications as a single deployable unit. So, Docker Compose helps us to manage multi-container application deployment. By the way, if you are new to this channel or not a subscriber yet, please scroll down and hit the subscribe button now and follow me on Twitter. Let's dive into today's video. Where do we get more information on Docker Compose? Let's browse through the documentation page, that is docs.docker.com/compose. Okay, so you see the overview, and it's as I mentioned earlier, it is a multi-container deployment management tool. With this you can manage multiple services and applications together in a single command, and also you will see the basic steps, how do we use it, what are the basic steps, and you will see the various parameters to configure. And please go through this page to learn more. It's very important and it's quite useful. Okay, how do we install Docker Compose? If you have installed Docker Desktop, it's already part of it. I have explained how do we install Docker Desktop for Windows in one of my previous video. Please watch it. To demonstrate Docker Compose, I'll be using Spring Boot microservice, that's CRUD operations with MySQL DB. That's basically two services. I have covered the basics of Dockerizing Spring Boot and MySQL DB in two separate videos. If you have not watched it, please watch it. Okay. So now the major piece of the puzzle in Docker Compose is the compose file, and it is YAML file. Let us go through this Docker Compose YAML file. Okay, the first thing is version. This is the latest version, and you can check the base. This version will vary based on Docker version what you are using. And the first thing will define services. As I mentioned, everything will go as a service. The first thing I am mentioning is prod app MySQL. This is a database, and I am saying image, pull this image MySQL latest. Then there are environment variables, that's a root user, root password, and MySQL user, MySQL password, and MySQL database, the default database, and port. This is a exposed port, that is 3306, and it is internal container port. Then importantly, volume, where does this data resides in a volume. This is a database service, MySQL service. Then we have main, my app main service, that is Spring Boot application. In this, what I am using is I am using a build command and restart always, and it's a build also always, and it is depends on prod app MySQL. What do you mean by that? That's because it has to wait until this MySQL comes up. Then there is a port exposed to 8080, and internal port is 8080, and also we have to pass the same environment variable what we are using here. And one important thing is database host. So please note this is not a local host, it is prod app MySQL, meaning, so by default Docker Compose creates a network, because each of this container have to communicate to each other, so it creates a default network in the name of your MySQL service as a default network, and it communicates. That is where the host is mentioned as this, not as a local host. And the same thing will go into your application property file. You will see the same thing here. And let us quickly take a look at Docker file, what it has. It's a simple OpenJDK temp, and it copies the prod app.jar, and entry point is prod app. So that's it. So let's go to the console and see in action. Okay, let us check the Docker Compose version first. So that's a Docker Compose version, that is 1.2.1.29.2. Okay, now let's go ahead and bring up our Docker containers. That is our Docker Compose up. That's it. So this can be treated like a Docker hyphen compose also, however mostly used Docker Compose app. So while it's coming up, let's check the container status by bringing another console. So say Docker ps, not yet, still it is coming up. As you can see, it's starting, right? So it takes a couple of seconds, depends on the application and the depends on the system also. Now started with MySQL, and then next one you can see the Spring Boot application is coming up, and you will see a couple of logs. So a lot of logs, and finally it says ready and running. Okay, so while it's coming, so again we once it's ready, we can see the Docker command, Docker container status, and let's do a quick testing on this application. Okay, the service is up. Let's go ahead and check the container status. You can see started product application and some 25 seconds. Okay, now let's go back and say Docker ps. You should see two containers because that's how we created a Docker compose file. Okay, let's go ahead and test this REST application with some REST commands. To test this application, I'm using advanced REST client. Since it's a REST application, I'll be using commands like REST commands like get, put, post, and delete. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a CRUD operations. We have selections, get, and also create, read, update, delete, all of this. First thing, let's see products. We need to list out the products. Let's go ahead and click products. That's a get, what you see here, and you will find the list of products. There is a 3 products already available. Okay, that's a get command. Now let's create a new product. Okay, that's a post command. When you're giving post, you have to give a body. That's a JSON command. So you say product for category for some price you give. Okay, let's go ahead and send this. You will find 200 means it's created. Let's check that. Click on get, and again see the list, and you should see the product for category 4 and price, and internally id is created as 6. Now id is 6, however the product says 4. I would like to modify from product 4 to product 5. So how do I do? So quite easy, just copy this. Let's go ahead and say put, go to body, say 6 and 6, and here say 6. You are going to modify this. You will see 200. Okay, yes. Now let's go ahead and list out this. And product 6 and category 6. If you want to see the whole list, see this. Okay, now so I don't want this product 6. There are some update happened, I would like to delete. So I'll go ahead and delete this product /6. It is done, it's deleted. Okay, and if you want you can verify that. Obviously 6 is not there, you don't get that. Products you will find 6 is not there. Okay, so that's about it. So now this compose is up, so rather than killing this